George Kell Motor Company sponsors the player of the game, and obviously I brought up a player, but the guy just happened to play back in the late 80s and 90s on 3 pretty good football teams, I guess you say. We had some battles with Dollar Way. John Bradley, the offensive coordinator, and I did talk about on the air, Coach, about your last football game. Maybe not. I mean, you're in an administrative role.
Right.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about that before we get into the ins and the nuts and bolts of football game tonight. Where do you stand? What do you think you're going to do? What's the future hold for John Bradley?
Well, when Coach Lewis left last year, it was late in the year, and
right.
I got the job it was in basically May,
right,
and felt like it would be leaving Coach Hinesley and those guys in a bind if we tried to find somebody that late going into the summer, and we had already gone through everything in the spring and kind of changed up our offense to try to be a little more explosive, and and so kind of my agreement was, hey, can I do one more year?
Right, absolutely.
And hopefully we could. I've been saying the whole time, I hope it goes well enough that they'll say, hey, that worked all right. We'll try to do maybe do it again.
There you go.
And but we'll just have to see.
Well, I know this, that I know you're doing a great job over at the high school. The high school seems to be running smoothly, and obviously we're doing good things on the football field.
Yeah,
so
had a good year.
I'll vote for you to stay.
Well, I appreciate it.
I'll vote for you.
It.
Let's talk a little bit about tonight. And you told me before we got on here about when we're having trouble running, we're having trouble blocking, we're having trouble throwing, and when hardly anything's working for us, it's just difficult. These guys were bringing the house almost every play. Talk about what they were doing and why it was so difficult for us to move the football.
Well, we've kind of seen it for the last 4 weeks.
Yep, absolutely.
Piggott did the same thing to us. Osceola did the same thing. Centerpoint did it last week. Where we're a spread offense. We got 4 receivers. We obviously got 5 offensive linemen, and they've got five defensive linemen. But they play it where they have 2 overhang ends, basically,
right.
They're outside linebackers that are running up the field hard, trying to stop, keep us from running wide.
Right.
That's been our speed advantage.
Absolutely.
Everybody trying to take that away. And then, a lot of our pass protection, especially for passes that are down the field, our vertical game, is basically man-to-man, big-on-big, whatever you want to call it, the kind of protection we have. And so, we're dropping back and we're having to give ground because those outside guys are so wide, so the pocket collapses a little early. And then, there's 5 guys and we've got 5 linemen, and we're picking those up, and then they started blitzing linebackers late through gaps, and that's when we started trying to keep the back end to help. Well, taking the back out of the route,
it really affects the offense.
It takes away.
Yeah.
But the ones you're trying to throw, that you got to be able to get the ball down the field a little bit. And we got in some situations where we had to throw the ball a little deeper, and it just couldn't give him enough time.
Well, they just got us in some situations where they had more numbers than we had trying to block, and then they just had linebackers that were running free. But let me say this: we get down early, 14-0. And then all of a sudden we have an offensive explosion.
Yeah,
we put 21 on the board. Talk about that little run.
Well, I felt very confident all year that we can score, and we can score any time. It's just a matter of execution, and that's what we've talked about the last couple of weeks is, we've gone into half and not started off really well, and it's all about execution. It's not really making a ton of adjustments because people have kind of done to us exactly what we've practiced against for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's just a matter of, hey, guys, let's calm down. Let's bring the throws down a little bit. Let's make sure we catch them when we get the opportunity. We've got to execute. We've got to make sure we get the blocks, and we've been able to do that. And we've got we've got a lot of good athletes, and we've been able to overcome some of those mistakes. When you play a team that's just as athletic as you, you can't make those mistakes. You do, and it's hard to overcome them. And then they get you in a hole, and you have to start doing things that. Normally we would like to run the ball and set up some of the passing stuff, and they were really setting on the passing game. We got in 3rd and long, and they were dropping some of those ends back. And I tried to catch them a couple times, thinking that we would be throwing and try to
get a little draw play. I said it on the air. It's a little draw play, and you pop it out there, and you may run 60.
And one guy makes a shoestring tackle or something, and it could have been a big run. It's just a little bitty things, and when things aren't going right on a night, those things don't work.
You're absolutely right, but a gallant effort, and I'm so proud of John Bradley bringing your family home to be a part of this great Greyhound tradition, and bringing a lot of tradition back to it. I mean, obviously when you came, and Coach Reynolds, been here for many years, and you and I have talked many times on the phone.
Yes, sir.
Prior to you getting here.
Yes, sir.
Prior to you getting here, and we have worked hard to get you here.
Yes, sir.
There have been several opportunities that we thought maybe we might have a chance, and things didn't work out. They always work out for the better. But anyway, you are back, and I hope you stay. I hope you can work that out. I think this team deserves you. And I mean, it would be a little different. And I want you to comment before you get off here, number one, about what does it mean to come back to be a Greyhound football coach?
You know, that's what I was sitting there thinking while you're talking about that is, you know, I started out here. I had my whole playing career out here and, you know, ended it right out here on this field against Dalloway in the semifinals.
1990.
In 1990. And, you know, it was always a dream of mine to come back and bring my kids back home and be in this atmosphere. And I wanted to always do things that be the kind of role model for players and students that my coaches were for me when I was
Absolutely.
here. And to try to give them the opportunities that I got from that and you know, just be that positive, you know, person to look to. And it's sometimes it's really hard to talk about it. You know, I got a little teared up down there on the sideline with about a minute left, and you know, everything running through my head of it might be my last game, and you know, but I'll tell you what, if it is, it's been a good run.
There you go.
And I love it.
There you go. I'm glad you're back, my friend. Once a Greyhound, always a Greyhound. And
yes, sir.
Listen, I can date myself. I called a lot of games that you played in. Matter of fact, every one of them.
That's right.
And I'm still calling them.
Yes, sir.
I'm still calling them. John Bradley, my friend, Newport Greyhound. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
John Bradley, who's the offensive coordinator and one of the administrators over at the high school, and we wish him the best of luck. Whatever happens in the next several months, in the next several years, this guy will be successful.
Yes, sir. Go Hounds.
Go Hounds. Subway Coaches Report, and always this man joins us win or lose, and even when it ends the season, as you have each and every year that you come up here. One year we had a victory though that we talked about at the end of the year.
That was the positive spin on that year.
That was a positive spin, and I think we've got a positive spin here that we'll talk a little bit here more in just a little bit. But first of all, just talk a little bit about tonight's ball game, Coach. It just they got ahead real quick, and just tell us about it.
Well, you know, there was times that a lot of positives happened. There was times where a lot of negatives happened. But you know, and it's like I always tell the kids is high school football is about momentum swings.
Yeah.
And you could tell that first quarter, it was just kind of, you know, it was up and down. That first quarter, you know, we got some good things going, and you didn't hear anything over here. And then, you know, so it's you know, high school football is all about momentum. And that's what I kept begging the kids is you know, we need something that's going to swing momentum. We need a big play. We need the ball out. You know, I kept screaming to get the ball out because they would fumble. So, you know, just, you know, all game I was looking for that momentum swing to turn things around.
Well, we got down. They take the football. They drive it down 64 yards for a touchdown, keep the ball for half of the first quarter, go up 6-0, miss the extra point. Then we snap it over the punter's head, and they get another touchdown, 14-0. And we also bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
It's 21-14 us, and things are looking good. And then some things just happened that were just kind of weird. Kind of talking about that ball game last week, weird. But anyway, it didn't work tonight for us. You know, we didn't want to lose. You never want to lose. You never want it to end.
No.
You never want it to end.
Well, and, you know, in that game, you wanted more than most.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, because, you know, they end your season last year.
Yeah.
You know, the big push is they're not going to end it this year. You know, that's what you try to sell to the kids. And you know, when it's all said and done, you know, that was a revenge game. And that's how we treated it. And, you know, that was a definite must-win that we wanted.
Right.
And I called it a must-win because – I wanted coffee and donuts. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been talking about it ever since spring, and that was a must-win. And no matter what we did after that, I just wanted.
There you go.
I wanted to practice over Thanksgiving.
Yes,
I really did, deep down. So, but hey, you know, that's the way it happens, and you hate it for the seniors.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about that senior class, and I love my little research, and I told y'all that before we got on here. And this senior class, we talked about it on the air, won 28 ball games. As a group, when they were sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and it's the first time it's happened in 22 years.
Yeah,
pretty good accomplishment for that bunch.
Pretty good research.
Yeah, I love the research. I had to come over and look at the board today. I didn't have everything that I needed, but I had to come over and look at the board again.
Well, and you know, they are a strong little group. I can say that about them. They love the game. You know, they're and you know what I always think about this group. I think about the work ethic some of these kids have. You know, like the Cashes and the Juliuses of the group, the Zawins of the group. I mean, and I could go on and on, but, you know, I just think about in the summer and in the spring and in the season how they would stay, you know, or come before practice, stay after practice, come in the summer. And it was just that work ethic. They're trying to get better. And that makes you feel good when there's life after football. You know, they have a work ethic, and that makes you feel good for the kids. So, you know, it was a strong little group, and I wish them nothing but the best because I can't wait to see life after football for them.
Well, nine football games that we won this year, and I mean, on top of that, you know, a great playoff run when they were juniors, and a little disappointment last year with McGehee also. But that team went down as a 5 seed last year, and the juniors and beat a 1 seed, beat Glen Rose, but there's no doubt our program is on solid foundation.
Yeah.
We've got more kids coming. We've got athletes coming, and we're going to continue to get better.
We will. And that's what somebody was joking and saying, when does it start back? And it really does.
Tomorrow.
It never stops.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was saying. I'm constantly penciling in. Hey, who can do what next year? Hey, where are our deficiencies in the kicking game? What do we got to get? Rolando graduate. So,
sure.
I mean, I'm constantly thinking of what we can do in the future. So, and when somebody asks me, well, when do you start back? It hasn't stopped.
No, it's a constant.
So
no doubt.
We'll get in the weight room as soon as we can. I mean, so we're constantly working towards next year, and that's the game. That's what it's become. So,
what are you going to remember most about that group of seniors? What are you going to remember? Just the work ethic.
The work ethic, definitely. I told Cash when I after the game, he turned in to one special kind of quarterback.
Did he not?
I had my doubts early on, but he changed my mind. He is a young man that did more than I ever would have expected out of him. He really did.
Right.
And he turned into a dang good quarterback.
Yes, sir, he did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
The things that he did this year, last year, the things that he accomplished, man, I can't say enough about Cash. And here's why I say that. He's that kid that as soon as I think about that work ethic I was talking about,
right,
he's that kid.
Right.
I don't know what time y'all get here and set up stuff, but at 4:30 he's out here throwing balls.
I know he is.
He's out here warming up. He's running laps. He's stretching. He's throwing balls. He's out here from 4:30 until we make him go in right before the game. So it's that work ethic from that kid, and that's why, and that's what's so great to see, because he's a dang good quarterback because he worked to get there. And so when you look at that and you say, man, that kid's, I can't wait to see what he's going to do in 10 years. And that's what
he'll be a success in life.
He will, and that's what I tell all of them. I said, it's hard, but in 10 years, I can't wait to come back and see what you've done with your life. And that's what it's about. But I'll always remember Cash. Joyce is another worker. Joyce Clark. Joyce Pruitt coming in as a sophomore.
Right.
He was baby brother to O'Shea.
Yeah.
And I stuck him right there beside O'Shea, hoping he would kind of be that little brother, that big brother, that brother. And he's come a long way. And he'll even say it. As far as he's come a long way. He didn't ever think he'd be a linebacker in high school.
Right.
And he matured into one. So it's things like that. It's Zaywin Smith. I always think about Zay when he was so little. He was so little in junior high and stuff, and he turned into a good little possession receiver. Joyce Clark, his work ethic and just the things that he done. Rolando, with everything that he's accomplished. Everybody keeps asking me. I thought he graduated last year.
Right.
He's
an 8-year starter, isn't he?
Yeah,
8-year starter.
And and then just Spencer Murphy, what he contributed to the team this year.
You bet.
And the things that you see on the special teams, is so much he did that we couldn't have done without him. Zane Watkins, I talk about Zane. He is I talk about grit a lot, and Zane is that true grit guy. He was that guy I could stick in, ask him to do anything. He was just tough.
Right.
He was just a tough kid, and that toughness is going to springboard him and everything he does in life. Dalton Phillips, same idea. Gritty kid. There was so many things that I asked him to do in offensive, defensive line, and he got it done just because he was explosive.
You bet.
Connor Prince. Connor, he turned into a pretty good little guard for us.
Sure.
And strong kid. So Alex Emery.
There you go. I'm not going to let you miss any of them because I've got them here in the green.
Okay.
You keep naming it.
I'm just going off the top of my head here.
Yes, sir.
But anything we could have done with Alex Emery without him. We just couldn't have done it. He was our true big guy. He was the guy that when I needed a big guy, he was the guy. He was the guy that really sealed that edge for us when we were running outside of him. He was just our everything big guy. He just was it.
James Dixon.
Coming into the spring, he broke his ankle in the spring.
Right, yeah.
And it devastated me because I thought, man, this kid, he looked good in spring. Man, he looked so good. And when he broke his ankle, I was like, oh, that's I hate it for the kid. But he come back, he played strong, had a pretty good little game tonight. So, to come back from an injury like that is always huge. And for the kid to come back and be productive like he was, I can't be happy enough for James. And I told him the same thing. He's gonna do something great in life, and I can't wait to see it.
I want to ask you about a couple of more, and we talk about it, and of course J.T. Haynes has been super.
Well, I still got one in my head. That
go ahead.
Joe Brodus.
I was going to. Joe's here. Absolutely.
And I know he's not happy with his senior year.
Right.
Who would be? And,
right.
I tell him all the time, and I told Grant this too, if you remember, when Grant got hurt, and I was in the same predicament when I was as a senior because I tore my ACL. And it always thought about Grant because, he wanted to come back to baseball and stuff like that. And I always remember Joe, and I always told him, I said, you'll get a chance to come back. And when
sure.
you do, you need to make the most of it. So I know it's never going to be, he didn't get the season like he had his junior, sophomore year. But think about that kid when he was at his best.
Oh, he was awesome. He was awesome. Yeah.
I mean, pull up.
Yeah, an injury.
Oh, yeah. Pull up your Harding Academy game.
Joe Brodus.
We watched that as a team the other day in here, just watching the Harding game, just because.
It's a motivational game. Yeah.
I mean, and you watch clips of him and just so explosive. So he's always got that. He really does, and he a good high school football player, just terrific. One of the most explosive runners I've ever coached. So I can't say enough about him. Another one that comes to my head is Avalos. Chris Avalos.
I was going to ask about Chris.
And I always liked his attitude. He showed up every day. He didn't get a ton of playing time, but the kid was constantly there. He was constantly motivational and positive, and that's what you want out of a kid like that. You want a true role player.
Craig Falwell.
Falwell is one of those other guys that there's a certain people on our team that when every day they walk through the door, I'm glad they're there.
Right.
And Craig's that guy for me. Every day he would show up, and he always had a great attitude. And there's always, and I always call it my comfort guys or my Hunter Hirsch is one. He's a junior, but there's always guys that walk in that door, and they're good for me because they're positive.
Right.
And it bleeds on me, and then I have a good day because of it. And Craig's that guy for me.
I forgot to mark that one there.
Hunter Shelton, yeah.
Yes,
and Hunter Shelton didn't finish out the year last year. Come back, wanted to play, and and here's the thing about him: we use football to help him in his grades, help him in his stuff in classwork. So every now and then you can use football to be beneficial,
Absolutely.
not just for getting them pats on the back out here. So he's been that guy that I'm glad he's in the program because what we can do to help him later.
And I mentioned JT, and just I want to talk a little bit about him. Maybe we talked about him. I mean, he was just been pretty good for us.
JT is one of those guys. He's another one of those guys. Now, he I'll say this: he's one of the guys that I always went and talked to because he was always he made me happy. He always made me laugh and stuff. But I'll say this about JT on the other hand is last year he probably had a season he didn't really think was up to par.
Right.
I think we'd agree. But here's what I like about JT: he come in the summer, he caught balls off that jug machine. Him and Cash, they would throw constantly, and you saw a better JT. You saw a more improved JT this year that caught a ton of balls, that made a lot of big plays. He was kind of our big threat guy at times. So, just to see the transformation from him last year to this year, that goes back to his work ethic.
Well, and you mentioned Rolando also. How do you replace a guy like that?
You don't.
Yeah, you can't replace that guy.
Because he was more automatic than people realize.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come to practice and you'll see him, I mean, we could do 15 in a row, and he
right.
I mean, he really is irreplaceable. And and now I don't. Abraham Gomez can probably kick a little bit, but I think the days of the toe puncher are probably coming back real soon. So, but hey, that's the job, and that's what we got to find.
Well, a great senior class, no doubt. I think we got them all, and I surely to goodness, if we missed them, we'll do another report.
We'll do another report. Yeah,
that's a guarantee. I thought a marvelous year. I really liked this football team from the beginning. I think if you look at the last couple of teams that we lost to, we lose to Osceola and lose to McGehee. We lose to good football teams.
We do. Who
have great athletes, and and we do too. It's it just didn't go our way in either one of those games, and it's okay.
It is, and that's I always say that we don't want to go too playoffs. We want to go deep in the playoffs, and that's always. But when you go deep in playoffs, you're going to see some good talent.
Sure.
And I think Osceola's going to open a lot of eyes this year.
Yes, sir.
As far as deep as they probably could go, but you're right, and we when you have that first round game, they're still a playoff team.
Right.
And you still got to go through them. You still got to win that first round to get there. But let's be real. McGehee was a second-ranked preseason in the state.
Yes, sir.
So they're a good football team. We knew that. We knew it was going to be a dogfight. I never hid from the fact that it was not going to be a dogfight. And we had some good things, but we just come up short.
Mark Hinsley, A great year for the Newport Greyhounds, 9-3. You know, if you look back statistically and you look at it and you say 22 years since we've had a senior class won at least 28 ball games. It's been a great senior class. We're going to miss those guys. But just like it happens every year and just like the 36 years that I've been doing this, there's a next group that steps up, and the ninth graders become sophomores, and the sophomores are juniors, and we're going to keep winning football games for the Newport Greyhounds. For everybody involved in our broadcast, for Ben and for Hayden and for Josh Nation, our cameraman, for everybody that's involved in Greyhound football, we just appreciate Mark Hinsley and what you do for our program and our kids. Head football coach and athletic director of the Newport Greyhounds. Great year, my friend.
Appreciate that.
Until next year, David Black and Go Hounds.